Get yourself ready, it's about to go down. We got a new thing coming, got a new sound, drum and
What's up? What's up? It's your boy G Sharp, and with me I have Hucky Austin.
What's up, everybody?
That's right. This is the 7801, the only place to go for real, true 7801 stories. And today,
What if I don't know what that means, G?
You better ask somebody, man.
All right, all right.
That's right. So today is going to be kind of just like last week. You know, I was talking about my last conversation with Prince. And today we're going to talk about the day the music died. Yeah, I know there's a song, you know, hey, bye, bye, Miss American Pie. You know, that's cool. That was 8 years ago. But if you think about the accomplishments of Prince as an artist, as a musician, even as a philanthropist, as a, you know, activist of sorts, he had a much bigger footprint than just being able to play some music, right? Now, with that said, him passing away didn't necessarily mean that the music died, but what it did mean was we are not going to be able to hear anything that's going on, that would have been going on in his mind today. Let's talk about all the COVID and all that stuff, man. Imagine what he would have been saying and doing right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was
right.
He was so ahead of his time anyway, right? So anyway, but we're each gonna tell our own 7801 story about where we were, what we were doing when we found out that Prince had passed away, and also shortly in the aftermath of that. You know, what did we do? What did we change? What happened in our lives that changed upon that news? I can go first if you like, Huck.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead? Or I can. You call.
Well, mine is really simple. It's not really that deep, but yours is probably deeper than mine because even though I probably had spoken with him more recently than you had at the time, your story may be more interesting. So let me just tell my little quick story. At the time, I was working at a Mercedes-Benz dealership selling cars.
Oh, really? That's something new I didn't know about you, man.
Yeah, I was selling cars at a Mercedes-Benz dealership here in the Twin Cities.
All right.
I'm not gonna give them a shout out because they have to give me a car for that. But so this is a business. You ain't too far gone to do that. So I was sitting there and it's weird how things happen in my life. I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is cool. I'm wearing a suit every day. I'm not selling, junk cars. I'm selling okay cars, and it is what it is. But I wasn't being who I am, which is a musician, right?
Right.
It's one thing to do something for a living. It's a whole other animal to be who you are, especially when being who you are is directly connected to something that you do, right? Not a whole lot of people can say that's who they are, that they have that. They are doing something that exemplifies exactly who they are as a person, right? Based on how they process, okay? So, but I was like, that ain't making me no money. That's cute, but it ain't making me no money, right? So, So about 2 weeks prior to Prince passing away, or it was 2 weeks prior to hearing about the airplane incident with him and Judith Hill, where they had to emergency land the plane and they gave him the adrenaline shot, whatever they call it, to bring him back. I don't remember. I don't know exactly what happened because I wasn't there, but from what I heard, they were flying from somewhere and had to make an emergency flight had emergency landing to resuscitate Prince. They're saying he died on the plane that day. Okay. Again, I wasn't there, so I don't know. But prior to that, I had a conversation with Morris Hayes, who was Prince's longest standing employee and musician, band member in history. And we were just talking about Prince and what it seemed like the trajectory he was on, right? And Morris said, and I quote, "I don't think we're ever gonna see a 85, 90-year-old Prince." And I was like,
let me interject for a minute.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that, G, because many years ago, I had the exact same conversation with Alan Leeds, and Alan almost said the exact same thing. He said, I just don't see P living the 80, or 70 years old. And it wasn't because at the time we thought he was reckless or anything like that. It's just, you just couldn't vision that. So I hear where you're coming from. I just wanted to get that in there while it was on my mind.
Yeah, so Morris told me, he's like, yo, man, he said, I don't see it. Not only do I not see that, Prince is not gonna go quietly into that dark night. It's not like he's just gonna be some old man just say, I'm just gonna go on and die, No.
Right.
Matter of fact, somebody told me, I don't know who it was, I forget who it was, or I'm just not gonna say it because I don't want to put their name out there, but somebody told me that Prince got mad when Michael Jackson died. Even though they knew each other and they were on okay terms, he was mad because Michael went before he did. Because all big super rock stars want to go out like Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix. They want to be young and go out crazy, a car crash and go down in a blaze of glory or something, crazy like that, right? So what Morris said was, I just don't see him being an old man and, 90 years old, hair falling out with, purple suit on, high heels. I don't see it, right? And if you think about it, he probably believed that his fans didn't want to see that either, right? Which would explain a lot, because all musicians want to stay young because that's the height of when they're doing what they do the best, right? So anyway, so I'm sitting in the car dealership. I just gotten there. I don't remember what day of the week it was. What day of the week the Prince died? Do you know? Remember? I don't know.
No.
I don't know. Let me
We
check.
got to look it up, man.
Let me look it up, man. Let me get my Google out.
Google it.
Right. What day of the
Seems like a Wednesday. I could probably be wrong, though.
Prince die? I don't know. Anyway, it's whatever day of the week it was, I know that the car dealership was open. And I had just gotten to work. And at this dealership, they got televisions all over the place and all that kind of stuff, right? And I'm sitting there waiting on the day to actually kick in. And this whole thing comes on saying that, iconic rock star Prince has just died. I'm like, come on, right? Because it wasn't I think it was TMZ. And everybody felt like, well, if TMZ said it is legit, but I'm thinking, nah, that couldn't be that. I understand he went through some stuff, but we just saw him on television a couple of days ago and he was riding a bicycle or whatever, And after I heard it, I just started calling people, right? I called Morris, I called Kirk, I called Bobby, I called Matt, I called Mark, I called everybody. I think I called you. I know I called you because I got your phone number. I called everybody connected to Prince. Now, you may not have answered at that time because you probably had 15 calls coming in at the same time. But I called everybody I knew, and the only person that picked up at the time was Morris. And I said, man, are you? He said, yeah, man, I'm hearing it right now. I don't know if I want to believe it or not, right?
Right.
I said, let me check some more. And I called Kirk. I didn't get Kirk on the phone. And then
It was a Thursday, G. I got the calendar. It was a Thursday.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm working that Thursday and I get that call, man. And I'm sitting there and watching television and showing all this stuff. And it was weird. It was like, because in April, it's not warm yet.
Right.
Right. So it wasn't a beautiful sunny day or nothing like that. It was just a regular old goofy April day in Minnesota. Right, where it could have snowed or it could have been hot, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, this is crazy. And because everybody at the dealership knew who I was, because they had asked me what I do, and I told them I played music and I toured with Prince and all this stuff. And as soon as people started seeing it, everybody started coming up to me. Did you hear? Blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry to hear about your friend. And I said, I'm not gonna say it's real yet, all right? This just came on the news, but by the end of the day, it was everywhere. Right. And I talked to a few people because Kirk was right there when all this stuff was going on. I never did get to talk to him that day, but I talked to just about everybody else. And I'll never forget, I called Robbie Pastor, and me and Robbie talked for like an hour. And I mean, Robbie worked directly with Prince for a long time.
Yeah, he did.
And
personal valet.
I mean, he knows where all the...
Or assistant, personal assistant.
Right. He knows where all the bodies are buried, right? He knows everything, right? So he was just floored. I mean, we're gonna have Robbie on the show and let Robbie tell his story, but he was floored, man. That, to say the least, he was floored. And I get it. But the moment that went down, after all of that went down, I went through my shift. I came back to work the next day on Friday because I had to work Friday and Saturday. And then I was going on vacation, right? That following week for a whole week in Key West, Florida. So I did my shifts, left, went to Key West, and I'm sitting in a lounge chair, palm trees shaded, drinking a nice fruit beverage and smoking a cigar. And then, I know it sounds weird, but I had that Prince voice in my head. And he says to me, so what you gonna do, grandson? Right? And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean, what am I gonna do, right? He said, you're not gonna sell no cars for the rest of your life, are you? That's what it was like that, right? And I was like, man, I gotta make some money. He said, are you a musician or a car salesman? That was the question, right? And that's the last thing I heard from him. And I went back to Minneapolis after that week and quit. And I haven't had a regular job since.
Wow.
Now, have I made a whole gang of money? No, right? But I've been able to sustain my lifestyle, and it was just, I mean, and again, you can believe what you want. You can call it hocus pocus or, right, of the devil or whatever you want to call it. But for me, Prince spoke to me clearly in my head and said, what you gonna do, right? You gonna be a musician or you gonna be a car salesman? Right? So in other words, go do what you do, man, because I'm gone. So everybody who I taught, because he literally taught me, right? It was like, do this, do that, right? Do this. He'll take my guitar here. Because when I was the band leader for Carmen Electra, he took my guitar here. Here's how it goes. And then he'll stop and say, are you writing this down? I'm like, I'm just watching. He said, well, unless you're a genius like me, you might want to write this down. I know, right?
Hey, I'm laughing, man, because I got a story too about him telling me to write something down. So we'll have to share that one too, man. It's just so much stuff, man.
I tell you,
he was such a character. He really was.
Man. So that was my story, and after that, I quit the deal, and then got so yeah, I quit the job, and I wasn't playing in a band nowhere or nothing. I had just quit the job, and Ursula Love called me out of nowhere, right? He says, "G, do you have a band?" I said, "Nope." How quickly can you put one together? I said, "Tomorrow." You know, I know everybody. I can put a band together. What's going on? She said, "Well, Omar wants to do some gigs. He wants to do some shows, you know. Purple After Dark, I forget the name of it. Dance Until Dawn, that was one of them." And she said, "I already told him you got a band. I already told him you was the bomb and everything." So, you know, so
she got a little ahead of herself.
Right, don't let me down, right? I said, no problem. So I put a band together real quick, met with Omar, Prince's brother, and we did the shows. And it was G Sharp in the Business. And we did shows, and we played at a bar here in town, and that bar closed down now. But I haven't put another local band together since then. But I mean, I've done a lot.
That was a good band.
It was a great
I really
band.
Like that band.
I know you came and see us a few times, man. I appreciate it.
All the time.
And you always brought people. That was dope.
Well, I brought my wife with me, and you know, bless her heart, she can't sing to save her life. And she remember she'd always ask you if she could sing, man.
Yeah, anytime. Sure, anytime.
Yeah.
Come on out. And you know she ain't coming. But she'll stand there and yell at me. You know.
Oh, man.
But yeah, man, so that was the beginning of me saying I'm done with trying not to be me. And from that point on, for better or for worse, you know, because I mean, what we're doing right here is us being us. Right? Because if we don't tell the story, who's gonna tell it? Right?
That's for sure.
For the latest on all things executive protection, check out Bodyguard Careers on the World Wide Web at www.bodyguardcareers.com.
This segment was brought to you in part by Send Out Cards, changing lives one card at a time. Go to agreetingcardjustforyou.com. Again, that's agreetingcardjustforyou.com. And now, back to the show. So what you got, Huck? Where were you doing, and what was your reaction, and where did you go from there upon hearing about Prince passing away?
So I was working a security detail. What's new? That's the story of my life. That's what I'm doing. But they say if you're staying busy, that's a good thing.
Right.
And I got a call from a mutual friend of ours from Memphis, Tennessee, Christy Beckton.
Oh man, Christy.
Yeah, Miss Christy.
Of course she knew first. Right.
Unbelievable. I mean, you know, this girl lives hundreds of miles away, and she knows what's going on in Minneapolis.
Right.
And she said, hey, you see what's going on at Paisley Park? I'm like, no, no. What's going on at Paisley? And she's like, something's going on out there. They have, first responders out there and everything. And she's like, do you think it could be Prince? And I'm like, no. I was like, absolutely not. So I don't know what I thought in my mind, man, as I'm processing this, G, but I'm like, the furthest thing from my mind was that it could be P. So I got some friends that are with Carver County Law Enforcement Department, and I get a call. Say, hey, you hear what's going on out here? I said, yeah, I've gotten a couple calls already, and it hadn't snowballed yet. It was just getting started,
Right.
And I said, yeah, from what I'm hearing, somebody, passed away out there. And he says, well, I got to say this off the record, but it's Prince. I'm like, man, get out of here. Get out of here. He said, I ain't kidding you, man. It's Prince. He says, I'll try to give you a little bit more information in a couple days. And so then the snowball started. Calls started rolling in, and kind of like what you said, it was really surreal. I'm like, is this real? Is this really happening?
For real.
Now, don't get me wrong. I had seen the reports, a week earlier about, the plane ride, and I think it was coming from Atlanta. It was his last show in Atlanta, G. And it seems to me that they had a layover. They stopped in Illinois for that emergency landing.
Right.
And so I had heard, rumblings that his health wasn't great and he was having some issues. And probably several months before this all had happened, I think in January was one of the last times that there was a show out at Paisley. Well, I'm sure somebody will help us out and give us the correct information. But I went to a show, it seems in January, the time was playing. And the thing was really funny. I hadn't been out to Paisley in years, man. And Kirk hooked me and Mike Oakvick up. He hooked us up. We went out there and, and we was watching the time. And P was out there. And I'm saying to Mike, it's just like, man, he looks like he's really, really lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, he was super.
I mean,
he was
a lot. He was really frail and thin. And I just, he was
paler than normal.
Yeah.
He was pale and pasty looking. Yeah.
And he was a small guy.
Right.
By nature. But
anyway, he
just looked really thin. And the thing that really caught me was he didn't look healthy.
Right.
I'm like, man, what is going on? And I didn't think anything more about it after that. But anyway, jumping back, I'm getting all these calls in. And so, go home, man. And, there's a couple of TV events that I'll remember, and this is one of them. I mean, one was 9/11 and then one was recently with George Floyd and, how things was happening on the news and stuff like that. And the other is Prince.
Yeah.
And so it just took the whole day. But gee, here's the funny thing, man. It's just like, like you, I was getting emails. Man, I got hundreds of emails that day. Yep. And the next couple of days after, I'm sorry. Sorry for your loss, Hucky, terrible thing. And I didn't have any emotion, man. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any emotion at all. I was just numb. I didn't know what to think or how to feel. And so I was telling my wife, I was like, this is really strange. I spent over 8 years of my life with this guy. And right now I don't have any feelings. I don't know. And, she says everybody processes grief a little different, just differently than everybody else. And so, gee, several weeks later, man, after things had begun to slow down, I was at one of my friend's house, and he's a big Prince fan. And so, whenever I come home, ever had those kind of folks that like, you'll go out somewhere and they know you're with or what associated with Prince, and guess what happens? Here comes the music. And, it's like, I was like, you don't have to play his stuff just because I'm coming over. I mean, exactly. You know how many times I've heard this song and
I know.
Bless them, man. They don't know, man.
And it's funny because they did the same thing whenever he showed up somewhere. And I was like,
oh yeah.
Do they think I was about to say that. Do they think that he's that narcissistic that he wants to hear his stuff the whole time he's in a bar?
Gee, I can't remember. I think it was like, it was sometime during the Sign of the Times tour. And we went to a bar in Germany, or a club. It wasn't a bar. And the DJ found out that he was coming in, and the rest of the night, in his mind, he's just gonna play Prince. It's gonna be a Prince-a-thon. Right. And 3 songs into it, he looks at me and says, can you go tell him to play other music besides mine? Right. So you're right. I mean, people would do it even with him, and he didn't want to hear his stuff 24/7. Not at all. But anyway, man, getting back to my boys' house. So I'm at the house, and gee, it hit me like a ton of bricks, man. Just bam. And I say to him, hey man, turn that off. And I must have said it with a lot of emotion because he's like, okay, man, okay, cool. Right. And I didn't realize that it was coming out that way, but all of a sudden, man, I just had this huge heaviness on me, and I just told my wife, I was like, I want to go home. Let's go. And man, for like about 2 days, I was in this fog. Yeah. It all hit me, man. Like, it's like, man, he's gone, Oh, this is going to be lovely.
Well,
yeah, it's like he's gone, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that was the thing, man.
So what it was your okay? So upon knowing this was true, all of a sudden, no more question, it's true. So how did your life change after that news? Because for me, it changed drastically.
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I mean, I've always had a high value on life.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I just really started thinking about, how short life is.
Absolutely.
In this system of things anyway.
Yep.
I have beliefs that we can talk about that another time. But
Yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
and so, it's really important to make sure that you appreciate, life and also too, man, it really made me think more about letting people know how I felt and how I cared about them.
Yep.
Because me, I mean, I'm not the most outgoing person.
Right.
And, and so I've tried to really work on it. Some of that's just because of what I do. Have you ever seen a bodyguard that's laughing and friendly and hey, it's good to see, so no.
Right. And it's funny because sometimes I've had people come to me after seeing you out somewhere, and when you're wearing a suit, you're on duty. We all knew that, right? But you would still acknowledge your people when they came around, right? And I've had somebody say to me before, yo, man, is Hucky mad at you? I said, no, Hucky's working, man. I got everything I needed to get from Hucky when he just gave me, yeah, what's up, G? And kept it moving. Right? Because if he wanted to, he could have, if it was a problem, he would have said nothing at all. The fact that he acknowledged you when he's working, because his head is on a swivel. When you're working, your head is on a swivel, right? Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's really the thing. People would always catch me at a bad time. One
more thing though, a lot of people who work for Prince didn't have that level of intensity though. Some of those guys were really just, and I'm not gonna say who they are because I probably don't even remember their names, but there were a couple of people who were Prince's security who, to me, they were just in it because a bunch of girls was around, right?
Yeah.
They get to put on a suit and be right there in that orbit, right? But you could just tell they didn't really know how to execute the procedures of securing. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
it was just different. And you've always been that 100% classic. I'm doing my job. When I'm on the job, it's just like a police dog. You don't see a German Shepherd going up, jumping on people and licking on them when he's got his police vest on, right? So it was the same deal. But yeah, man, the change in my life was very significant. And what would you say? How would you sum up how, other than just being more outgoing, because you are markedly more outgoing than I've ever known you to be, except for when we first met, because you was a lot younger, right? But what other pieces can you say that you experienced?
I mean, gee, I guess, like I said, after that, I mean, I was always, and I have been a guarded individual. And like I said, a lot of that is just because of, my occupation.
Right.
It's just how it is. It's kind of shaped me. I've been doing this for over 40 years, so it's shaped who I am. But I do things more now, like, and my kids will testify. I'm quick to tell them how much I love them and how much they mean to me. And that was stuff that, even though I always felt that way, I wasn't so quick to share that information.
Right.
So, those are some of the big differences. I just, as we see close friends, family members pass away, I always think to myself, it's just like, man, I don't never want to be in a position where I didn't allow or tell them how I felt. And one of the biggest regrets that I have is that I never really got a chance to thank Prince.
Right.
I mean, never got a chance to say, hey, man, you know what? Thank you. I mean, because and this is true for many of us. If it wasn't for him,
Nothing.
you know, who knows how our careers would have been, you know?
Who knows?
And so, and also him just giving the opportunity. I mean, him and Chick both, if it wasn't for them, you know, I probably wouldn't have been where I'm at today.
Right.
And so I just wanted to say thank you. And you know, I didn't get a chance to do that, man.
Right. And I don't know that I did either, because he never seemed like he knew I was thankful for what he'd done for me, but I never said it because, you know, Prince, man, he got so many personalities, and you never saw the one that was like, hey man, let's share our feelings. Right?
Yeah.
You never saw that person.
Yeah.
Right.
That wasn't happening. I mean,
Right.
but you know what though? He would do stuff,
Yeah.
you know, to let you know that how he felt, but he just wasn't saying it.
He wasn't
you know?
saying it. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
he
that's why I
wouldn't do
said
that.
I knew he knew how I felt about him, and I knew he knew how I felt about what he had done in my life. But when he died, I never got a chance to tell him that either. So that's why I've told Brown Mark, who if it wasn't for Brown, I would have had no connection to Prince other than just being a fan. I would have never.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to give some credit out to my boy too, because he was the first step. Obviously, Prince was the one to allow me
Right.
to be able to be a part, you know,
Right.
of his, you know, of his circle. But if it wasn't for Mark, man, I would have never even, you know, even had that opportunity.
Absolutely.
So I got to say, hey to Mark, hey to Chick, and obviously,
Right.
and lastly, Prince.
Right. Well, hey man, thanks for sharing that, man. Because you know, a lot of what we're doing right here, yeah, we're telling a lot of really fun stories, and we haven't even gotten started yet, folks. I mean, we got so much stuff lined up. But another thing that this does is very cathartic. It allows us to, as men, the two of us at least, to reach in and pull some of those memories out and get that fresh feeling of what it was like at the time, being in that hurricane known as 7801. It didn't matter what time of year, it didn't matter if it was 20 below, it didn't matter if it was 15 feet of snow or sunny and bright with mosquitoes flying all over the place. When you walked in that door, right? When you walked in that door, you went into Never Never Land, man. You went into Peter Panville. You went into, you know, the Matrix. Right? You know what I mean? Because everything inside of it was designed to do one thing, and that is just whatever it is you're doing, let's do it 100%. Let's blow it up. And, you know, Prince was like Willy Wonka. Right? It was.
Gee, man, while before I forget, we have to do a show about one of his birthday parties, man. And I'll have to go back and do some thinking. But one of the birthday parties, he wanted to have some actual real lions at the birthday party. And I remember him talking to, I think it was Therese, whoever, maybe it was Karen. And everybody laughed, and he's just like, this isn't a joke. I want to do that. And so I thought about that when you said this Peter Pan view, this Alice in Wonderland, because it's amazing some of the requests that we used to get. And then how often we were always able to succeed.
To pull it off. That's the thing.
To make it happen.
That's
and
what
he had
I'm
some
saying.
wonderful people around him to do that, man.
And that's another
Man,
thing too. He gave people a shot, and we didn't even know we could do the stuff he was telling us to do.
Right. But that's the thing about him, man. He made you do stuff that you didn't even know you can do. And you can talk to anybody that's been in the circle, and they will tell you the exact same thing. You know, there was this stuff, man, that I'll share this one real quick story, because I don't want to leave on a downer. So Teresa, for all y'all out there, was P's longtime personal assistant,
right,
office manager. And right when she first started, she just recently told a story in one of our Facebook groups, man, and it still makes me laugh. So she says, I think it's like maybe second, third day on, and she gets a phone call, and it's P on the phone. So he says, 3801 Colfax, click. And right, now remember, this is before caller ID and everything, and she's like, who the heck does that? Who the heck just calls you up and says an address and don't
hang
say
up.
anything else? So she said she's freaking out and everything. And, she's like, well, okay, well, I don't know. This is some type of code. And so she says, 30 minutes later, he calls back and says, well, did you send anyone yet? But apparently, man, he had got a flat tire. Him and Susanna had got a flat tire while he was driving. And he just went into this thing, he just comes out and says the address and then hangs up on this poor lady. And, she's brand new. But the thing that's funny, because one of the guys is this guy named Pete that's in the circle, man. And Pete says, you know what? I would have just automatically went to the address just because you know how he is.
Exactly.
But in the
Just
beginning,
go. Right.
In the beginning, you don't
She
know
didn't know
that.
any better.
Yeah, you're Tristan though, but
She's a rookie.
it's a funny story. Maybe we can even get her on the show to tell it
I
because
would
it's
love
hilarious,
to.
man.
She's got tons. She got tons
Yeah.
of stories. But anyway, well, hey guys, that's that's where we were. That's what we were doing, and that's what we ended up doing in the aftermath of Prince's passing. And again, if you knew Prince, you could find a way to make even his passing something funny to talk about, because that dude was so different. He was such an interesting cat. So, with all that said, I'm G Sharp.
And I'm Hucky Austin.
And this is the 7801, the only place for the real, true 7801 stories. And as always in parting, peace.
Peace. Till next time.